Thanks to AI User Group for having me. My presentation today is what a product designer learned from using AI to make a music video. And so the product designer is me. I'm John. And the AI tools that I used that I'm going to be talking a bit about are MidJourney and Photoshop. And the music video I made was for the song Let Me Know What You're Feeling by The Guest and the Host. The Guest and the Host is a friend of mine, Andrew Herringer. He's been in a bunch of bands under different names, and right now he's using the moniker The Guest and the Host, and he's released a bunch of albums and stuff. But today, I'm going to be talking about mostly the AI side of things. I'm going to go through what we did with that music video and why we did it that way and what were the steps in that process. But I'm going to try my best to bring it all back to the AI side of things and what can be of use to all of you, because I think that's why you're here. You want to learn something valuable. And then a big thing for me is trying to give you suggestions for actual steps you can take rather than just think about it and gain knowledge. I think it only matters if we actually use that knowledge. And so to start, I think one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people share the same questions and thoughts that I have had about AI and just sort of have the same foundation. I kind of wanted to start there with a lot of the questions I had as recent as like a year ago or 2 years ago. For example, what does AI even mean? I feel like it's a buzzword that has a vague meaning depending on who's using it. Of course, this image is AI generated. This was made with MidJourney. I did something like a mysterious genie and a magic lamp. And so it was a little different than I expected, but this is kind of a silly representation of how I think sometimes AI is portrayed. It's this thing that can do anything, or someday it will be able to do anything. And the more I use it, I think, yeah, it's possible, but at least today, I don't think it's this mysterious thing. But this is where I was, and I think a lot of people are. Another big thing I notice is everyone uses the word automation, especially in this town. I feel like half the people in San Francisco are founders starting something up. And when you ask what they do, it's like, oh, we're doing blank industry and we're going to automate everything with AI. And it still can have some vagueness to it sometimes. Obviously, automation is real, and that's a valuable part of AI. But I still think it's good to boil these things down to like, what can we actually use it for? What are we actually doing here? Another big thing for me, again, just to point out, another AI generated image, which is a little funny because you can see their faces are a little funny. I think here I wrote like San Francisco startup founders shouting about automation, and it added t-shirt labels for them. But this is another really important one that I have felt before I did this project with Andrew. And still sometimes I feel this way. It's like, it seems like everyone else gets it but me. When I was first starting this project, it was like you hear about these great promises or these sort of great fears about AI, and it seems like everyone else is in on it except me. And I've noticed that other people have felt that way about it. And then finally, like the last big question, since I'm a product designer, it's like, who's actually making these things? Because like whoever made ChatGPT for the first time or designed the interface for Gemini or any of these other AI products, it's like, why did these product designers get to innovate and make these tools first? Like, I want to be one of those people. And like, so what qualifies them to do it? Or what will qualify me to work on these things in the future? And so going back to the music video, just to dive in on that, I am an indie filmmaker. That's what I'd like to do outside of work. I've made some short films. And so I approached Andrew because I already knew of his music. I'm already a big fan of his. And music videos for filmmakers can be a great way to experiment visually because the sound is already set, and it's like a 4-minute piece. So sometimes you can go really wild or go really creative with the visuals. And so that can be a great opportunity for filmmakers to do something they otherwise wouldn't have the chance to do. So that's how this project kind of got started. And the idea behind it, it's a long story, but the end result of all these conversations, once Andrew had picked a song for me to direct a music video for, we narrowed in on doing a stop motion style animated piece using 35 millimeter photography film for Andrew, and then everything else, for the most part, like 95% of all the other visuals, generated by AI. And why did we use AI tools? It's the basic reasons. It was going to possibly speed up the process of creating the imagery I needed, because once I knew, you'll see it in a second, but when it comes to stop motion animation, it's sort of a collage style. So sometimes people will do it where they'll cut out clipping, like a picture from a magazine, and then they'll put a sticker, and then they'll put all these different mixed medias together. And for me, since I'm doing this outside of work, it's like, well, I don't think I have time to do all that. But seeing all these new AI tools is like, well, I think I could generate all these images I want if all I need are prompts. So it could create something. Oh, that was more the second point. But it could also speed up the process of creating those images and also creating images I might not be able to find on my own. And then finally, like, why did we want to do it? It's like, well, I like tech, so it's like, this is a great chance for me to try some of these AI tools that everyone's talking about. And so now going into the process, I started by receiving the song. I sketched the storyboard based on the song to go through it and be like, these are the visuals that I'm thinking of for your song. We took all the photos of Andrew on film. We edited them so that they could be and it was on film, so they were developed, scanned, digitized, and then put together with some placeholder pieces, and then I added the AI art kind of last. But just to show you some examples of these visuals, so this is just like one rough drawing where I was using like stick figures, and I did a whole storyboard of, I don't know, 20 pages or something of different stick figures based on the song. And so then I went over to his house with one of my film cameras, and we ended up taking over 550 photos of him to do all of the animations that I knew I was going to need for all the parts of a music video. Edited them, basically removed the background to isolate Andrew. Put it all into Premiere Pro so I could animate it, and then also add some placeholders just to make sure that we had a rough idea of all the different environments he was going to be going through, because we were kind of basically using him, pretty standard for a music video. The singer is the kind of central character going through the world as described by the lyrics. And then we added the AI art. And so what you see here is a series of, I think, 4 or 5 layers of images that I stacked on top of each other so I could animate them separately. And so now I'll just show you a bit of the music video, if it's all right.
I've been spinning plates, and it's been this way all day and night, running through a maze of a lovesick lullaby. I distract with games, try to find a way to delay once more as it goes on for days, when I'm lost in a holy war. Let me know what you're feeling. Let me know what you're feeling. On
going to stop it right there just to get back to the AI stuff, but you can see what we're going for there. And you can also maybe see why we chose to do sort of this stop animation style, because these visuals of changing locations and stuff, we were not going to be able to do just like with a video camera, because it goes to so many different locations. I'm going to go back to my slides, but just keep in mind this background here with like the Hollywood sign and stuff and this van in the background, because I'm going to reference that in a second. Let me see here. Okay. And so that was the music video we made. It was released earlier this year. And so now to focus back in on the AI side of things, because that's what you guys are going to want to use probably. So focused on MidJourney. I'm sure most of you have heard about MidJourney. There's a lot of people talking, but they had to talk about it a month ago, right? And a lot of really powerful things you can do with it. And so to kind of focus on my experience with it, the pros, you can create some amazing visuals. And also there's a growing community of people who can help you figure it out when it comes to the prompts and all the stuff that you need to do to get the images you want. So just to give you a couple examples, just for fun, I typed in, imagine a beautiful sunset over a luscious jungle with a waterfall in the middle and various animals throughout. And then AR 16:9 is aspect ratio 16:9. And it gave me this, which is cool. And so you can like choose one of the four, and then you can do variations of them or stuff. But it's a really cool starting point, considering this is something that I made in, I don't know, it probably took like 30 seconds maybe. Depends on how fast or slow it's going at the time. Like I mentioned, there's community help. It's all through a Discord server. So like there's people right there live to help you, which makes it very helpful. Cons, it does have a learning curve, I have found, which is why I feel like everyone who talks about it is immediately like, here are the prompts you should use. Try this, because sometimes you can't get what you want, and it can be a little frustrating at first, which is why I mentioned the help of others. And then another con I mentioned, it does require setup on Discord. Some people don't want to get on Discord for whatever reason, but I mean, no, I use it and I like it. And sort of an example of it not giving me what I want. I find like MidJourney sometimes has trouble with really simple stuff. So like here I just wrote, imagine the horizon of the open ocean with the wide aspect ratio. So if you think about this, you're probably imagining like the horizon and that's it, the open ocean, right? And so this is what it gave me. It gave me 4 different things. The only one that I would say qualifies as the open ocean is the one in the bottom left with the big pirate ship, but I didn't ask for a pirate ship. And I just want to call this out because in terms of my process making this music video and AI tools in general, this is a great example of like, sometimes they save you a ton of time. Sometimes you type in a prompt and you're like maybe if I needed a shot of a jungle and those ones that came up, they might have been perfect. But when I need something simple, like I just need the horizon. That's all I want. The horizon on the open ocean. And it doesn't, it's like, oh, how about it gives you the most dramatic version of it. And so that's just one thing to keep in mind. I remember I had some trouble at one point for the music video because the opening is in the desert. And I remember asking it in the prompt, like, I want like a bare desert floor or the valley of a desert floor, and there's just nothing. And so it showed me a desert with an old house and a distressed power line and some barrels. And I'm like, well, no how, then like add on, no house, no man-made objects. Try it again. Then it's the desert with like a cowboy walking through the middle. I'm like, okay, there's no cowboy. And it's like, these are some of the like comedic, like comedy of errors type things that happen when you're working with AI, which is okay. Like it still is a net positive, I would say. But that's just like a snapshot into my experience with it, like the good and the bad, I guess you could say. Photoshop. I love Photoshop's AI integration so much, both from its use as a designer, and also like how well they did integrating it, I guess, as product designers, or UX designers, however you want to say. But and a lot of people don't know about it. I find a lot of people are surprised. But what I would say are the pros of it. It doesn't change my workflow at all. And it's excellent with existing material. Like if you have something you're starting with, I think Photoshop is the way to go. And so to give you an example, I mentioned it earlier. There was like one, it looked different than this, but in the music video, there was a part where Andrew is standing in this very similarly looking place. This is the album cover that happened to be made by his wife, Carmen, who has this really cool collage style of artwork that she made, and she's a really great artist. And so when I was trying to come up with the different scenes and I had seen this artwork, it was like, oh, this would be perfect for like one of the places that Andrew's character goes through. Of course, the aspect ratio is wrong for a music video. And so I just want to walk you through like how simple this is, like for how simple Photoshop makes this kind of thing. So if I'm thinking of in my graphic designer mind, how I would approach something like this, I would normally want to do like the clone stamp tool or something similar to that just to get started. And I would probably start sampling things or copying stuff from the actual artwork and then kind of replicating it and expanding it outward to try and fill that. And then it would look bad. And then I would do iterations and iterations, and that would take me hours. What happens now, I drop the photo in there, I select the empty space, and then immediately it comes up with this thing at the bottom that has the generative fill prompt, and it has that extra little pop-up that says modify existing content, blah, blah, blah. If I clicked generative fill, then all it does is ask me one question, like, what would you like it to generate? And it's optional, which is great, because when I first stumbled upon this, I was like, I don't know what I want. Like, I want to see what you do. And so if you just click generate, this is just 2 clicks. Within, I would say 4 seconds, 5 seconds, it created that. And to me, it looks pretty cool because it's like, yeah, the text at the top is really wonky and I'll have to change that. But as like a graphic designer, this saves me so much time because it's like, great, I can start from this place and I can still edit it all I want. And if you notice at the bottom there, there's toggles with like the 1 out of 6. You can go through variations, or you can generate new variations if you want to try something else. And so I did do something very similar to this when I was making the music video, which was like, I remember just having such a great, it was like a light bulb moment, like, wow, this is going to save me so much time. Another example, so in MidJourney, before I learned how to do the aspect ratio correctly, I was using it in here. I would import the artwork and then just let Photoshop make it the right size. And so here's another example. If I have this image of like, this was in MidJourney, I typed in the Milky Way, and then I bring it into Photoshop and generative fill. And it's like, I mean, to me, it looks like it was always made that way. And then one last example, which I think is maybe applicable to some people. Here's a famous piece of art. This is The Old Guitarist by Pablo Picasso. So what if I want to do something, I don't know, I'm thinking like if someone's doing more immersive style art or something, and you want to expand upon an existing piece, I just throw it in here and have it fill in the rest of the space. And like, it looks pretty cool to me. Like, I don't know what I would use this for, but someone might be able to use this for something. And like if you look on like the left side, it added like a little table and stuff. Like it has some really cool things here that it can do for existing pieces of media that you might import into it. And I just, again, want to call out that generative fill at the bottom, it only takes like 1 or 2 clicks. Like it's such a time saver, even if you want to change it later. And just to touch on the cons of the Photoshop AI thing, I have found that you can create things from scratch there, just like in MidJourney. I found that it wasn't as good as MidJourney in the past, but I added this caveat that that may be changing, because I've noticed in the last month or so it is better than it used to be. So just to show you some examples, the same prompt that I used before for MidJourney of the luscious jungle and the waterfall, like, gave me this, which I would I could point out some things that are wrong with it, like the animals are not anatomically correct, and there's some weird things going on at the top of the waterfall. But it's pretty good considering it took 3 seconds to make. Again, and this was an interesting one actually. Examples of visuals: the horizon of the open ocean. I tried this in Photoshop. This one actually gave me what I wanted the first time. So this might just be something to think about, like when you're exploring visual tools with AI. Photoshop might actually be able to give you some of the simpler ones. But anyways, going back to what I was saying at the beginning, like, what does AI even mean? I don't think automation is wrong. I put calculator in here partly because I think that this is a funny AI calculator, because all the numbers are wrong, all the buttons are wrong. It's like, just kind of shows like, it's still trying. But this is going back to how I was saying, like, it can be such a mysterious thing. I view it kind of as a calculator. If you told me to do like 10,000, 38, 500, whatever, if you give me two big numbers and said multiply them together, I wouldn't be able to do it. But with a calculator, I can. And I think that's kind of how it is with a lot of these AI tools, at least today. It's like, yeah, maybe someday things will get crazy. But right now, it's just sort of like the next step in the evolution of technology. Another big thing I want to stress that I have noticed, there is a big difference. Like those who know versus those who don't. I don't think that's a real thing to think about. As soon as I started using the tools, it was clear that when people talk about AI, there's the people, it's not the people who know and the people who don't know. It's the people who have actually tried using it and the people who have never tried using it. The people who have never tried using it will just tell you about, oh, it'll be able to do everything, and you can't even imagine how good it'll be. Versus the people who try, there's something there. There's like these small steps you can take in your day-to-day life. And actually, like Tom's presentation it's like, clearly he's used it, because he's like, here are all the things you can do with it. These are like actionable steps you can take. How can I design AI tools? This was a big aha moment for me as well. I really like to keep things simple. And when it comes to designing any sort of digital product, for those of you who are not UX designers or product designers, although I'm sure many of you are, I really highly value user flows, task flows, any sort of flow, because I think it is kind of the quintessential point in the designing process where it's like, how well are you solving the problem? Like, if you're just thinking about features and you're adding all these steps for the user, are you really helping them, or are you making it more difficult for them? And so I think for me personally, going forward, it's like, this is what I'm shooting for. It's what is the flow that someone is already doing, and can I just take a couple steps away with AI? That's all I'm looking for. I'm keeping it simple. Or on the flip side, like I said, if there was a flow, like for example, if I was to make the music video without AI, I think it would have, if you were to write out all the steps of all the things I would have had to do, I think maybe it would have been 10,000 steps, and maybe I would not have been able to do it on my own. But because of the AI tools, I was able to narrow it down to, a few hundred steps. And what to avoid. This is a big thing too. This is where my mind goes to as a product designer. Like, if you take an existing user flow and you remove 2 steps, but then you add 3 because the user has to go back and correct the work that the AI did, then was it really worth it? Not really. And so I think that's what we have to avoid as we design new products, is making sure that they're a net positive and we're not just creating new issues for the user down the line. So just a couple last things, suggestions in case you haven't already tried this stuff. Just ChatGPT, Gemini, for any how do I blank. anything you're doing, it's like, how should I do this? How should I prepare my resume? How should I, if I need to make a pie, what do you recommend? Not because I think it's going to give you the best answer, but because it's a great way to just get your hands dirty and start seeing what it's good at. For example, I mentioned programming here. I am a bad programmer. I have hired contractors in the past to help me out with stuff because it's like, I just can't figure out this dang bug. I don't have to do that as much anymore because now I can go on Gemini and be like, hey, Gemini, I have a question in Swift UI. Can you help me debug it? Here's the error. And they'll be like, yeah, try this code. This is what's wrong. Amazing. So whatever your problems are, I would just encourage you to try, even if you think it's not going to help you. AI art for stock photography, I'm very much on board with what Tom was talking about with using the imagery for telling the story of your users. There's another project I'm working on right now where that's literally what I'm doing. It's like I'm just focusing on the story now rather than like, charts and all that. Try using voice commands. If you haven't already seen it, there's a few people on YouTube who have used AI. They have bundled things together to recreate Jarvis from Iron Man, if you all are familiar. But Jarvis is the AI that Tony Stark uses, and people have recreated that. It's pretty amazing. So there's some really cool stuff out there. Share your experiences with others, and always be polite to AI tools in case they take over. Always say please and thank you. Just in case, you never know. It doesn't hurt to say, hey, I appreciate it, and that's it. Here's the key information in case anyone wants to link up with me, or if you want to check out the music by Andrew, or check out other artwork by Carmen. So thank you all. When we started the project, it was like December 2022. So I don't even know if there's any public access. There was just like demos, but I still do stuff with Andrew and we've been talking about that because it's like, well, you can definitely do something with it. And actually, I think that would actually be another good thing for product designers, UX designers, for personas, because eventually I think where it's all going is eventually when you are pitching a product to someone, you'll just make a movie of people using it. And I think that's where it's going. So I want to use that stuff. But
that's great. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff with people generating images on MidJourney and then animating them in Runway. Cool. So if you had to do that again now, what would you do differently?
Well, now that it's over, I would not do it again the same way I did it. Because, and I think this is a key thing that a lot of people, not me, have said that, there was a big learning curve in using the AI tools. Like, for example, when I was using MidJourney a lot, I was kind of when I went down this road, I was kind of expecting it to be a lot easier. I was like, well, if I can think of a prompt and it makes sense to me, I should be able to get what I want. And that wasn't always the case. Sometimes I really had to put in a lot of work. But I think, so I would do other projects moving forward, or just do smaller projects moving forward, just to lower the stress or just get it done quicker. But I think someone online was talking about how it's a lot of work right now to experiment with these tools, and sometimes they aren't worth it. But the people who put in the time now are going to be the ones who benefit the most when it is all sorted out. Like 2-3 years from now, when people say, okay, here's a clear checklist of all the ways you can use AI, and everyone's doing it, and it's proven to help you in your careers and make more money. By the time that happens, I believe the people who are going to be taking advantage of it the most are going to be the people who started now. So I guess yes and no. Yeah. Thank you all.